Welcome to the Going Green podcast. Today we're going to have a look at this idea that the UK, which is surrounded by water, we're an island, let's face it, doesn't actually have enough water.
Dun dun dun.
In fact, to be quite honest with you, it's not just the UK that's got a problem. The problem also occurs with the rest of the world, really. Yep. So we ask a question, are we actually running out of water? If you go and talk to the people in the streets, they go, "No, we got loads of water."
Well, technically, they do. I mean, there are places that are suffering from drought where they can say they're not having enough water, or grant them that much. But majority of people in the developed world, say yes, they've got totally enough water to live off and survive.
But I was thinking of the UK at the moment, really. I was thinking of just simply asking the problem of the UK. We're an island. It rains here. It's been raining this morning. It's, as we call it, flaming June. Although, actually, I think we're probably going to break some records for how warm and nice and how sunny it's been for this June. It hasn't been the best, but it's not been too bad. It's well above an average. But we've still got plenty of rain. You're now going to tell me, Paul, it's the wrong sort of rain, aren't you?
Well, the answer is technically yes, but the same. It's one of those things where we've been recording, not water records the wrong way, but sort of rain records in regards to previously, some months have been the wettest months on record, and then we say a few months later, they go followed by the hottest and driest months on record. Like it's one of those things where when it rains a lot, as opposed to we're not getting the rain consistent. And the other major problem, which is suffering, is that it's the prediction of if it's going to rain or when it's going to rain is getting harder to predict. And so with this sort of, when you look at, say, planning for things, it's the people, water companies, and sort of how much water needs to be made available, those sort of things. They look at these sort of things and they have to not panic, because that's not the issue, is more sort of work on ways of conserving water, or as much potted water as we can, because it is a major issue, or at least it's going to become a major issue in the next, they say by 2030, which I now realize is only 8 years away.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where they've looked into this and they've sort of worked out that currently, if we carry on the way we are, it will be a problem. That's more the point. It's not that it's going to be a problem. If we continue the way we are, it is going to be a problem.
Okay, so you mentioned there a word. You said potted or potable water. Potable water is simply drinkable water. So it's more than just water. It's actually clean water. Clean water that we can actually drink and bathe in and do our teeth in without necessarily getting infections like cholera and dysentery and diarrhea and vomiting and all that sort of stuff. Okay, so you're saying basically that the Met Office has got much, much better. They really can forecast down to the sort of hour or so when water's going to come, but they can't make the water. And the water is just coming, the rain's coming more randomly than it used to.
Well,
and when it comes heavier than it used to.
yes, that's the main issue, is the fact that it's becoming less predictable when it is going to rain, in regards to how much rain is going to fall is also becoming less predictable. It's sort of one of those odd factors. But along with that, it's saying, well, when is it raining? Well, it's actually raining at not the wrong times, but it is raining at the wrong times. And we're talking, say, You hear all the farmers complaining about when all the rain, you know, whether it's raining at the wrong time or sort of causing problems with issues, or saying they need the dry harvest, but it's raining then. It causes all sorts of problems. You hear them moan a lot, but there is a reason that, and they may moan because they have to do all these things. But the critical thing is, previously they could predict the weather being right. It's going to be rain in spring and then dry in summer, and then autumn's going to be rain again, because that's how a nice climate works. But unfortunately, it's becoming more sporadic in where the rain is. We've gone through June and we've had major, uh, uh, like I say, claps of thunder causing massive rainstorms. But of course, we don't need them now. We needed it earlier in the month. They were saying that this last
You're saying we get a lot of rain coming and then it just runs off rather than going into the ground.
No, not quite. I'm saying that in the spring, when you want water, because you need to, make the nice soil, nice and ground to make it easy to plant the crops. Of course, it wasn't, as it was drier, less wet, or sort of less rainy. Then in the middle of the summer or beginning of summer, which we are now in, where it's piddling down rain. You used to hear the term sort of April showers. We didn't get that many showers in April until we got them all in March.
May.
Sorry, May, and then finally in June. It's all shifting around, you see.
So drip, drip, drop, little April showers doesn't happen really very often. It's changing. This is just climate change, changing perhaps when things are coming. Now, we are, of course, getting shorter of water, and a lot of people don't seem to believe that we are getting shorter of water. Yeah, we got floods, and various other bits and pieces, but we're working on flood defences to try and prevent sort of these sort of floods happening. But this is because of a lot more rain rather than steady rain. If we get long periods of, if you like, light to moderate steady rain, this soaks into the ground, it fills up the aquifers, and so we can get groundwater. And this is how this country's worked for years. And now it's starting to change. We're getting more water, sort of heavier water, in shorter sort of spells. And this means that the water isn't being sort of collected and able to be used, but it runs off and then it's going sort of straight into things like rivers. And, well, we got to then try and capture water in a different way. Sometimes the rivers round here, they run dry. This year, when we went out to have a look, going out for a normal walk, our river is normally quite full in spring. This year it wasn't.
And that's one of the problems we're finding, is that it's looking at the treating water as a resource. You've got to sort of work out, plan, and say where's it coming from and how to use it. One of the major things that actually cause all these problems is actually the increasing development of, I say people, if that doesn't make sense, but it's more the tarmacking and concreting over of the ground. Of course, that prevents any rain that does fall from actually going into the ground aquifers, and so it then has no place to go, so it just runs off. And of course, it runs off into the either the sewage system or into the rivers, and that suddenly we've lost the good water that went into, or goes into the aquifers already. So it's one of those odd things where we're actually creating the problem.
Well, we're getting more and more people. As the population goes up, we need, and everyone wants water, and there's more water, there's more industry, there's need for more water. So gradually the demand for water is going up, but the amount of rainfall that we get, although it's changing times of year, it's pretty constant. So what can we do about it? Well, there are sort of campaigns going on at the moment in this country from the various different water companies trying to raise awareness of how much water we've got. Do you need to sort of keep the tap running when you are brushing your teeth? How do they stop all this? Well, they've done lots of campaigns. We had our shower adjusted so it's got a slower flow on it. They did that in the wash basin as well. That just meant it took an awful lot longer to fill up. I wasn't actually certain made any benefits on that one because if I wanted to wash my hands, sort of taking sort of 2 minutes to fill the wash basin was sort of not really practical. And I took that one off. And now I can fill the wash basin up with the same amount of water and sort of have a wash when I have a shave or something like that. And I'm still only using the same amount of water. And of course, we've got in this country, most people have got now water meters. So they've got an idea of how much water they're using. And they can sort of, in some cases, monitor that amount of water and do something about it. So we don't sort of use as much water. I've got a pond, and you'd say, oh, yeah, well, that's going to use up a lot of water.
Yeah,
My pond is actually next to my shed, and my shed roof, it's got some guttering on it, and the water runs down the guttering into the pond. And I've only needed to top up my pond once so far this year, and that was sort of running for about 20 minutes, which I was quite pleased that I've only needed to sort of fill up the pond just for sort of that amount of time.
Well, I, that's very good of you and very good solution. But the one of the things about that you're saying you're turning uh grey water, which of course is things like that, off the roofs and using the grey water to fill the pond up instead of using nice potable water, the drinking water that we could using for other things. Yeah, it's like are you taking the rain and actually putting into water butts and then using that to water your garden rather than using nice, fresh, clean, purified water to do that instead. Yeah, it's those
Yeah.
ideas which is part of this campaign they're trying to talk about. They're talking about making sure your taps aren't leaking, to make sure that every drop you save, is a drop more in the someone else can use, or it's all those small things they're now working on. They're now thinking more about water efficiency or water use efficiency rather than directly saying, um, you know, we're wasting water. It's being more efficient with it. It's the idea that sort of technically, do you need that bath shape, not the basin, filled with water, or could you just have the razor blade, using as a pure stream, or is
Well,
it?
I actually did measure that to see which was most efficient. And I put a small amount of water in the wash basin, and I was actually using less that way than I was trying to use a running tap and turning it on and off. So I've measured it, and I use quite a bit less water if I just put a little bit of water in the wash basin. So that works. It's like washing the car. I'm I do wash my car quite regularly. It's called rain.
Yes,
I was trying to think the last time I'd actually washed my car. Um,
quite a few years ago.
I think it is. It's probably something like about 30 years ago. I keep my car outside, and you know, it rains on it, and it works quite well. If we get some dirty rain. And this is when we get some sort of wind blowing the sand up from the Sahara, and then it rains and it goes on to the house, the solar panels. Then this is a little problem that I've got to try and wash that off. But what I do is I use grey water for that, water that's come from the roof into the water butts. I used to have more when I had not a bigger garden, but I had more garden to sort of work on. And when we had that, we used sort of a lot of grey water to sort of water all the plants. And by and large, it worked quite well. We had something like about 5 water butts, and that worked quite well trying to sort of water everything. Except when, of course, we ended up with sort of 5 water butts all full.
Well, yeah, we
And then we'd sort of gradually run out and we'd be sort of hoping we're going to have some rain, which in this country is actually not that difficult.
yeah, no. So it's you know the idea that's the whole one of the whole strategies is sort of be more better usage of the water. Be more delicate. Understand that there is a use case for potted water, a use case for the grey water, and that you can not separate the two, but you can sort of replace one with the other. You don't actually have to use only use drinking potable water for drinking. You can use actually grey water for other things. But
Yeah, we could use it if we were even more efficient for things like flushing the toilet. We could use grey water for that if we could capture that at the right place and store it at the right place. To do that, I've got to store it in the roof somehow, and I don't.
no, it's there are, if you want to be, I say super efficient, that's the wrong way to go for it, but this idea of sort of so green and so eco-friendly that it's you just move through and you just do all the so circular idea that you basically don't throw anything away, you recycle as much as possible, the whole system. But of course, that's most people aren't like that. Most people aren't. But it's way of sort of
Well, it's difficult with the way the houses are designed at the moment. New houses, if they build new houses to use grey water when they're actually being built, this is a lot easier than for someone like me, which is now I've got an older house and trying to convert this to use grey water is a lot more difficult. What I just do is I've got a water butt, we collect the water from the roof, and there is my potable water. I've got one out the front, and when I want to sort of clean the windows on the car, because that's what I do, rather than wash the car, that's where I get my rain water from. Yeah, which is just rainwater, and it's perfectly good for cleaning the car.
yes, yeah. So that's why it's very good in that regard to using these different, I say, types of water, these better uses for the water we've got. You know, they were saying that looking through all the things is that the area of the south, and particularly in the southeast, as opposed to the southwest, is having a severe problems of not water management, but they're going to run out of problems of having poor water, and those are the areas of which need to be not looked at, but they need to have better management of different water sources to prevent the problems of having a lack of water. And yeah, it's all these strategies and marketing campaigns to actually sort of engage with the public to let them know that this is what they're trying to do, what's happening, as opposed to just saying, suddenly we're going to have a hose pipe ban or those sorts of things. And it is a problem in that regard to all that. But you sort of say, people moan and they groan and they say, "Do hose pipes ban work?" And they sort of do, but it's
Yeah,
one of the things.
yeah, they do really. As soon as they put things like water meters out, people sort of then didn't sort of waste water in much. They didn't go out. I don't see as many people watering their lawns. I will admit my mother's lawn is absolutely verdant green. It's plastic, isn't it? But it's about the only one that is. And it doesn't need much mowing as well. But, you know, trying to sort of do all the watering is much easier if you just use sort of wastewater. And trying to sort of capture any water that you're is around your house is another good way of doing things. Yeah, if you want to sort of put the kids out in the paddling pool, lovely. And what you're going to do with the water at the end, well, basically that is sort of best to sort of use that to water the plants and the grass.
Yeah, it's the critical question on that sort of thing is what did water do you use to fill the paddling pool, and then subsequently, you know,
Well, I'd still recommend you actually fill the paddling pool with potable water, because when kids go in it, they're typically going to drink more than they're going to actually bathe in, aren't they, really?
I'm not going to say anything. Yeah,
Based on some kids we know that don't actually go in the paddling pool as much now. I keep offering to get the paddling pool out for you, and you keep saying no.
yes. Well,
Yeah.
it's one of the things. Anyway,
But can you take things like shorter showers? Um, yeah, you can. And you can actually do other things like sort of put the plug in the bath when you're actually having a shower. If yours is like mine, I have a shower in the bath, and I can actually then gauge how much water I've actually used. And it gives me an idea that I've filled up only sort of 2 or 3 centimeters worth of water in my bath. And it gives me an idea then of how much I sort of have used compared with perhaps having a full bath. But if I just let the water go down the bath, the plug hole straight away, I can't gauge how much water I've used. Whereas, going in the shower and just going through and doing the ablutions, as they say, I can also, with the plug in there, I can measure and gauge how much water I've actually used. Yeah, can you go round and check all the leaks? Uh, they're not a good idea anyway. So, can you get rid of as many leaks as you possibly can? Because that wastes a lot of water. So, yeah, get rid of that. So, what are things that you can do to save water, Paul? What would you go for?
well, it's one of the things where it's you thinking of. Let's say you wash the dishes. Is thinking sort of, do you need I'd say clean water all the time to do that. As in, I know you say, like say, you sort of you need to start with glasses first, and then you move down the scrubbing order. But this idea, sort of, it's you could still clean in grubby water as opposed to always needing fresh and clean.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, you're about to go through a whole list as like
Well,
what is
I'm going to say yes, but when I choose to buy a new washing machine, when I choose, it's usually it's because it's broken. But when I buy a new washing machine, when I buy a new dishwasher, one of the things that I go through is I have a look at how much water it's going to use. And I'm probably different to most people. I base a lot of my decisions on the efficiency and how much water it's going to use in these devices. So, various things there are to try and save water. The obvious one is just sort of don't run water, sort of unless you have to.
yes.
for all sorts of things. Take shorter showers. That works, sort of. Do you honestly need to sort of be in the shower for 10 minutes? I find once I've got the dirt off, I don't need to sort of stay in there for any more. Don't wash your car. Nature washes mine. I've discovered that a muddy brown car is about the best color you can have. I did when I was younger. I had a lovely black car, and that was in response to my first car, which was white, and the white one showed every mark. So I got a black one, and that showed even more marks. And since then, I've gone for sort of muddier colours, which don't actually show the dirt as much. So, yeah, you've got to make the car legal that you can see through the windscreen, but you don't have to use the car wash all the time. Do you need to have your car washed? Do you need to go to the car wash? I see the queues round the corner all the time for people queuing up to wash their sort of brand new car, and I think, yeah, do you really need it?
Although I was seeing that lots of the new car washes actually do use grey water
Yes, they do.
to wash the cars in, as opposed to using the clean ones. They do say they try to do it. Obviously they've got a tank. If it's empty because it hasn't been raining, then you can't do anything. But they do try to do these things.
And if they're doing that, then it's more efficient for water usage to go and pay for someone to wash your car rather than to use your sort of wash your car at home. It used to be, I remember when I was a lad, every Sunday, most of the sort of road were out there washing their cars, trying to keep them clean. Doesn't seem to happen so much now. I can't remember seeing many people now wash their cars. What can we do about your grass? Well, does it matter if your grass goes brown in the summer? And the answer is, well, no. The only thing I do is I go out and I water my herbs. And if I don't water the herbs, then we don't get any herbs. And that's reasonable as far as I can see. But I'm using grey water for that, so I'm not doing anything bad. If we get any really nice weather, and the kids are on holiday and they're in the paddling pools, then we've talked about that. Basically, just top it up, reuse the paddling pool water, and it's only going to last a couple of days, probably, knowing the heat waves we get in this country, and that's all right for the kids. And then you can sort of just throw the water on the lawn or use it for watering the flower beds. Yeah. How about using the hose to sort of do the watering? I don't. I find I use the old watering can. This is basically because the laziness kicks in, and I can actually water all my garden with 2 watering cans.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And another thing, very critically, is all about the dual flush systems in most, I say, modern toilets. It's where you don't need to empty the system, the whole tank of water, to get rid of number ones as opposed to number twos. It's knowing that number twos requires more water to flush away, correct? But number ones, which are mostly made of water, doesn't actually need that.
And do you actually need to flush that every time? And the answer is, well, actually, no, you don't.
There's a common rhyme. We sort of, I can't remember.
You can't remember the rhyme. Okay. Well, that wasn't very good.
Well, no, I can sort of remember. It's like but it's not worth even.
Yes. Okay. So there we are. Water. Do we have enough? Yes. Especially if we all look after it. You've been listening to the Going Green podcast, looking at water. We'll be back next week looking at another topic on going green. Until then, It's goodbye from me and
A goodbye from me.
bye bye.
Bye.